so I might be able to change the name. 808 Genetics Strain Talk. Your mom ready? Yeah, I think we should talk about the dog patch menu, and then after the dog patch menu, we should talk about just our cultivators, and we should let the chat ask questions. The cultivars, and yeah, we got Real Miss Supa in the building. So we are ready to talk about everything that we've been working on. Where are you going? Your chair? You want your chair up? You want me to come down more? I'm like blocking you. Yeah, that's why usually I keep it with this open, because it shows us live. You're hiding behind me. They need to be able to see you, or else it's like, it's like they see me every time I go live, for the most part. So we're just gonna let people jump in, and then we'll start talking about the dog patch menu we're harvesting today. If anyone has questions specifically about any of the cultivars that we have and breed with, we're down to answer those questions. So this is more about information about strains for, what's going to help you guys, and we're not doctors, so this is just patient advice, so always consult with a medical doctor. They're all saying hi to you.
Hi, guys.
So let's just start it off. I'll just lead the conversation while people are jumping in. So today, harvesting, what were the standout terps for you as we were cutting plants down? If you had to pick a top 3, I guess, to make it easier. So let's hear your top 3, and I won't, I'm not giving no advice.
Well, I'm super excited about the ChemD because it's chunky, it smells really good. It's a new strain for us as far as the cut that we're working with.
We've had the dead ringer cut. We just got the variegated cut.
Yeah.
The variegated cut stays a lot stouter. The buds get real big. They chunk up faster. And I feel like it's a louder, terpier version. And the pods on it are huge.
And we also grew out the dog patch phenos, different phenos that we crossed, and so we got to compare those directly to the Chem Dog D cut, which was fun. A lot of similarities.
But the Chem D there was other ones that smelled like the Chem D in the dog patch phenos, but the Chem D was still the queen of all of them, I think.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see.
So you got Chem D as number 1. So then what was number 2 out of what we were cutting down?
I mean, terp-wise?
We're just all about the terps. We're not doing structure. We're not doing how easy the plant was to grow. Just terps.
I mean, cherry pie to me is just very potent strain. So
you can only smell cherry pie in the house currently right now.
Yeah.
So after cutting down, we didn't cut the entire menu down, but a lot of it, it'll be at least a 2-day harvest.
To us because we have so many terpy varieties that are unique in their own ways. You got the citrus, the gas, all the different varieties, but cherry pie just stands out in its own lane.
So cherry pie second, and then if you had to go third, I know it's tough, but you got to pick a third. What is it? and you can't rely on me, girl.
I would probably say
This is all you.
Krippy.
You going
Krippy's gotta
Krippy?
be for me, yeah.
Krippy over Krippy Kush?
Well, they're so similar.
So
Probably, yeah. I'd probably go Krippy just because
so Krippy's third,
it's
the
OG.
cherry pie is second, and the Chemd is first. So that's Moana's list. Here goes my list. And if you got Muka, you got a question about the Cushmans, go ahead and ask it now so Moana can read it, and then I'm gonna let her answer, and then I'm gonna give my input as well after she's done. So my list, if we're going top three, shit. I mean, that's really tough. Because I'm gonna say probably my first. I'm gonna probably copy her for the first two, but then the Krippy, like, don't get me wrong, the Krippy deserves to be in the top three. But I mean, the octane smells crazy, the lemonade smells crazy, the Gary Payton smells crazy. So like, I don't know. If I had to pick one, I'm just gonna think about how it blends with the Chem. That Gary Payton, man, like, it is a new cut for us, but if I had to pick one thing to say, I think people are really gonna sleep on it. Gary Payton to the dog patch, I feel like that shit is just gonna hit different. So there's my top three: Chemd, followed by cherry pie, followed by Gary Payton. And that doesn't mean Gary Payton's terpier than Krippy by any means. I just feel like for the guy out there growing, it's gonna be a big, chunky, easy to grow plant with turfs that just blow your mind. How best? So here, the question is for you, for Muka first. How best to grow Cushmans? My main issue is the seedling popping. Should I pre-crack? So, I mean, you answer it how you would recommend.
We're going to be putting up a YouTube video soon about germing seeds because everyone germs them differently depending on, you know, your environment, your
But just
temperature.
give them a simple breakdown, like how long you float, when you transfer to paper towel, what signs cause you to transfer to paper towel. Real simple indicative
So
ways.
we just germ all our seeds the same. We float them.
Temperature of the room is key.
Yes.
So keep in mind, if you're popping seeds during the summer, ideally you're doing that in an air conditioned room, unless you live far north and it stays cool up there. But ideal temp for seed popping is 76-ish.
Yeah, I'd say 72 to 76 degrees. I would really recommend an AC if you're popping seeds, just because it can really affect the germ rate.
You can take perfectly good seeds, pop them in too hot of a room, and they will damp off and die because of the heat.
Yeah. So we float the seeds for at least like 48 to 72 hours. We're looking for
But mention if they sink.
most of them to sink or sprout. So you'll see the taproot start growing, or they'll be at the bottom of the cup.
So if a seed does sink, you don't have to pull it out right away, but general rule of thumb, 6 to 8 hours, you want to transfer it out of the sunk water. They can suffocate essentially by being submerged in water. Heat mat, I would not recommend a heat mat unless you really got a very cold room. We're talking below 70. Like if you're in a room where it's like 68 degrees or lower, I would say you could consider using a heat mat. But you know, user beware. User beware can mess stuff up real easy with too much heat.
Yeah.
Okay, so then from that period you transfer to the paper towel once the taproot is how long? Do you use,
Water?
yes, do you use your finger? 2 line marks? Like that? So basically 2 line marks. I don't have a tape measure in front of me,
In the
but
water, I'd say we usually transfer slightly shorter than that. Like we want them going, but you know.
if you can get it as long as your first 2 notches on your finger before you go to a paper towel, at that point you could technically go directly into soil. If once you hit 2 marks on your finger, that's like indicative of it's ready to go to soil. We do like to help get the head off the seed, meaning like there's the shell and then there's the little sleeve that goes around the actual first leaflets. So if it's moisture, it'll help it slide off. Didn't realize they could soak if sink. I may have paper towel too early on the Cushmans. Yeah. So some of the mistakes I personally made and I've taught Moana along the way is never rush to transfer from the float to the paper towel, even if they sink. Give them 6 to 8 hours. Make sure that water has penetrated. Number one. Number two, if you do have the tail develop, let's say a 2-inch tail or a little less than 2-inch tail, they still should go in a paper towel. If it's longer than the first 2 notches on your finger, that is clear indication it is ready for soil. So at that point, you would want to de-sleeve the seedling for optimal results, because many things can happen. The seeds that we produce are grown in Hawaii, so you're dealing with a much harder shell than a lot of other breeders' seeds. So that harder shell can actually like pinch the top of the seedling, and by pinching the top of the seedling, you can actually kill it, right? So it's just like having a clip, like we were harvesting today, and when you have a stake and you clip it on there, a lot of times the plant will go around the stake, right? But with a little seedling, it doesn't have the strength and the energy to do that. It's too young. And then tips, if I'm gonna just add in here, tips for the Cushmans in general. It's a little bit of a difficult plant to grow when it's smaller. It doesn't really drink that much. It does take a while to establish. Typically, once you have a good sized Cushman's plant, it will drink better. But I personally find Cushman's does a lot better when it's sizable. So we're talking 3 to 4 foot is when it starts to perform. When it's smaller than 3 to 4 foot, that plant doesn't really drink. It takes time to grow. So it's just really, don't overwater it, you know, and that's really the key to Cushman's.
Yeah, you're really looking like the color of the soil before you give liquid. Lifting the pot is the absolute best way to determine if a plant needs liquid, because sometimes it can look like it has liquid and it doesn't, or vice versa. So
yeah, it's good to look at the top of your soil and watch it dry back, right? So like, let's say you're using Pro Mix or Sunshine. Both of those mediums are a peat moss, and you can usually tell the top of the soil will look light, right? That doesn't mean that the whole pot is dry, because if the root system hasn't like gone downwards and it's not pulling up the moisture, then you're not going to get proper drybacks. Do they go hand in hand with the rabid runts? Struggling to find a happy medium. Yeah, with the rabid runts, pretty much any Cushman's cross in general, same with most Bubbas, they're going to be a little bit more finicky with the drinking. So like, let's use Octane as an example. Octane likes to drink pretty much from as soon as it's rooted. So I would always tell you guys, those first drybacks from whether it's a seed or a clone, are very important. But as a young seedling, until the first real sets of leaves are developed, you don't want to do any kind of crazy dryback, because that can straight kill the seedling. Same thing, you don't want to do a heavy watering on a young seedling, or for that matter, a clone, because that can cause it to dampen off and just die. So you got to look at the plant as it's a hydraulic system that needs to uptake the water to transpire, and if it can't uptake the water to transpire, the roots will develop root rot, and the plant will ultimately suffer and potentially die if not addressed quickly enough.
So yeah, I personally believe moisture content is crucial for plant health. Jake and I water a little differently. He tends to water a little heavier than I do.
So she's not a novice gardener by any means, but she's not as doing it as long. So I've recommended to her from day one, and she's found this to be true as well. She's better off to water on the light side of things, because if you have like a knowledgeable grower who can indicate like, look, that plant's getting lockout or having nutrient deficiencies because of underwatering, you can see it. Vice versa, if you overwater, those deficiencies are going to develop way faster. So it's always better to err on the safe side and water less. So Moana tends to water light. I tend to water heavy. So explain your watering system, because I feel like for most people, it'll be easier for them to grasp.
What do you mean by watering system?
So like when you go and you make your evaluations on the garden, what indicates to you to water the plant? The top soil being dry? Do you pick every pot up? Like give them a breakdown.
The number one thing when watering for me is the strain. I have to know what strain I'm watering before I decide how much water to give it. Your lemonade, your blue sapphire.
So just start off with what are the strains that are difficult to water?
Lemonade, blue sapphire, wedding cake can be temperamental with water.
Sherbanger, Sherbert.
Yeah. Sherbert, well, it's smaller. But, yeah, I mean, I'd say a strain either drinks well or it doesn't want a lot of water. So I have to know the strain I'm watering before I decide how much to give it. And then I look at the soil color, and then I pick up the pot. And then that's when I decide how much to water it. For seedlings, I think I like to fill my container up with soil, dry soil, and then water, not too heavily for seedlings. I lift it before planting the seedling, and then after that initial first water, I'll plant the seedling, and then after that, I'm watering probably every other day for seedlings. And again, that's strain dependent, but that's pretty.
Well, like an example, like let's say we just took clones of lemonade. It may take a week from when we first transplant it to have to water it again. Let's say blue sapphire, same thing. It may take a week. Let's say it's a good drinker like a Gorilla Glue 4. It might take 2 days after you transplant it till you need to water it again. So at the end of the day, it's really strain specific. And I would say most of our cultivars are, I don't want to call them finicky, but water sensitive, meaning don't overwater them.
Cookies as well.
Yeah, like cookies,
drier.
Krippy, OG, Bubba, Cushmint, Sunset Sherbert, Gary Payton, White Widow, Chemd. Most of the older varieties in general, most of the elite varieties are more difficult to deal with when it comes to dialing in how they drink water.
But I wouldn't say they're difficult because once you know their watering needs, it's actually you're giving them less water, so they're faster to take care of. But you just have to be aware. Also, the size of the plant, like once they're big, they'll drink.
It's relative to the plant size, to the pot size. Like all of it is being relative. So let's use Krippy for example. Krippy is easier to keep healthy in a small pot, and this is a general rule of thumb for most strains, not all. If a strain is difficult to get to dry out, putting it in a smaller pot will be easier to take care of it as long as it doesn't outgrow the pot size to where it becomes root mount. So that would be a pro tip. And I just saw we only got 5 likes in here. Let's get those likes up. We got the beautiful wife on here helping provide content for you guys. This is gonna stay up on the channel. So smash the like button. If you're not following, hit the follow button so you know when we go live. But continue on. Sorry for cutting you off. So as small pot containers for harder to dry back varieties, for faster drinking varieties such as a Gorilla Glue, GMO, Tahoe Cure drinks well, Lemon Lips drinks well, Sugar Tits drinks well, Octane drinks well. For anything that's going to drink well, we always recommend you can not start with a bigger pot, but after the initial small pot has 2-3 good dry backs, you'd be ready to go into a larger pot. But vice versa, if you're talking about a Cushmint, a Krippy, you're better off to let it get established and really rooted up in that small pot. Get those dry backs really dialed in. Try to learn the plant. You got to remember, just like every person is different, every strain is different, every pheno is different, and you need to learn it and you have to understand it. So let's do the next question. So, what would you say is the most fun to grow strain? So if you had to pick one strain to grow, I think I know what you're gonna pick, but go.
Most fun to grow.
Yes.
I mean, I like Forum.
So I knew she was gonna pick Forum. She loves Forum because
I like Forum because it has
basically no
very
leaf.
little leaf, yeah. And it changes color. It is pretty sparkly. It's
a
yeah,
supermodel.
It's dense. Yeah, I enjoy it.
Like if you're talking about like in terms of girls, like she is pretty much the prettiest girl in the room.
She
Besides
also
maybe the
won't
animal.
perform if you don't know how to handle her. So I also
Yes.
enjoy watching her shine when she's handled correctly.
She won't pop unless given that right amount of water. So it's
Transplanted at the correct time.
yeah, it's all of it. Does blueberry grow slower in flower? Not really. I would say blueberry drinks well and grows fast, but it can be not the heaviest drinker. Does form have a lower yield than what animals? Slightly.
In general.
Yes and no. So yes, the yield looks less than a lot of varieties, but when you actually weigh it out, if you grow it properly, it weighs out like real nice. So Gorilla Glue 4 is known to be this yield monster, but it has what we call shrinkage, where you grow it and the bud will look a third of the size or smaller. Like you won't even recognize a lot of the Gorilla Glue buds when they dry up.
Right, yeah.
Whereas the Girl Scout buds don't shrink like that.
The form stays amazing.
Yes, so I would say it's like this. If you know how to grow form, are the yields huge? No. Are they good enough to get by? Yes.
And I love smoking form. It's very euphoric. I can smoke it any time of day. I love it.
And if I had to pick a favorite strain to grow, I would say I'm all about the hunt. The search never ends. So it's chasing that next new rainbow or unicorn, as you want to call it. So I love growing the classics. I love growing the proven cuts. If I had to pick a cut right now and say it's my favorite to grow, it's probably the Sherman Runs 33. The color on it, the smell on it, the size of the buds, like it is just a spectacle to behold. And I've seen a lot of strains. I just realized I never popped the form cross yet. I feel like I'm being disrespectful. Maybe next round. I'm having fun with this octane head right now. Let's check out the octane head real quick. So I think we should be able to do this on the live and it shouldn't cause any problems. Let me just bring it up. So let's take a look at Easy Grown, and shout out to Easy Grown for plugging us in with the octane cut. He did a great selection on that.
Yeah, really good.
We love it.
We love it.
So here is original octane. As you can see, it's got kind of these goofy stacks where it starts shooting a lot of hairs, but they pot out crazy like a diesel. So that's awesome. And the terps on that to me are like a straight up strawberry. So that's the octane. Right here we have the octane head. So you can see, to me, it's got more of a Krippy structure.
Yeah. The leaf.
Yeah, it's got more of a Krippy leaf, Krippy structure to it, but you can still see the octane, influence in it. So great job on that one. And then for you guys curious on the Kryptonite 84, here she is. Really special plant. A lot of people consider her a lot like the Northern Lights. Really orange hairs, just dense, and pretty much dominates anything you put it with. So shout out again to Easy Grown. We do have other stuff we can show on the website or on the Discord Budwise, but he's in the chat right now, so figured just give him some love. Muka, if you put up that Bubba, I can show your Bubba off. I don't think it's up here. So I don't think you put it up. But if you put it, I'll show off here we got RVA can, triangle burger, slamming. As you guys can see, looks beautiful. So smashing it. Good job to all the guys growing 808 all around the world. Appreciate every one of you guys.
We love to see your photos, your grows, your phenos.
13 is looking like the keeper. Okay, let's talk about the dog patch number 117 male and what makes it a good male. So we did our due diligence on hunting this male. I usually don't clone males. This male took me almost 2 years to find what I was looking for. My check marks were I wanted a stocky, bushy, chem dog dominant plant that was variegated and had the right smell to the stem rub. The reason for this is a lot of Lucky Dog's gear, I don't want to be disrespectful, so don't take this as it's not good, but I'm looking for the specific chem fuel funk, and he has a lot of like what I would call like earthy Ganny terps, right? Said we disconnected from OBS, then we went back live. Weird. Hopefully we're still live, guys. Let me know. Let's see. Are we not still live? Okay, we are still live. We're still live? Cool. So the dog patch F1s, we hunted out 30. Out of the 30, I found what I would call 3 girls that had the smell I was looking for. I took notes on all of the structures, the leaves, and all that. Boom, ran it back again. Found a really nice male on the second hunt. Blew it, lost the clone of it. Luckily, it wasn't variegated. So if I had like all my check marks, it wasn't as good as the number 117 male that I ended up keeping. Okay, so we run through it again. I think the second time hunting out the girls, I found 5 good girls out of 30, right? Boom. So then we ran another 30, okay? And then I think same thing, around 3 to 5 girls were really good. Didn't find a male that I wanted. Ran back another 30. So here we are like 2 years later, find exactly what I'm looking for. And it was the number 117 pheno. And not that it matters, but my son was born on January 17th. So I kind of found it ironic that the male that I found was number 117, because that's essentially like his birthday without the year, obviously. So what made him special? Variegation, structure, stem rub. He was an absolute hammer. He flowered for 9-10 weeks, didn't die. Moana had to not water him for him to die. So I believe he would have just re-vegged on his own. True old school genetics. A lot of the new stuff won't do that. So, you know, shout out to Lucky Dog doing his thing. Awesome genetics.
I'd say too, when we work with other people's genetics, we tend to really stress them and see what they're gonna do under different conditions, which can take longer to make selections. So this male was vigorous. He handled stress like it was no thing.
Hammer.
Yeah.
Straight hammer. Like the Donnie Burger, we hunted 50 seeds. We found the male right out the gate. I don't know if it was the way the homie bred it or just luck of the draw, but that came through no problem. But you know what I mean? It's just sometimes that's how it goes. Like we've hunted gear of ours where we pop 10, 12 seeds and we find multiple keeper females and males, right? But like we found out a long time ago that with other people's gear, we're not trying to say anything rude, but we just want to check it all out and make sure what we're getting into, because when we make seeds, we make a good amount of it, and we don't want to have some bullshit ass genetics. So, you know, but hit those questions, guys. Let us know. So that'd be my description on how we selected and what we look for in that male. And he was a banger, man. Like I kept him around. I can't guarantee I'm gonna breed with him again. I have him on deck. You know what I mean? I have him on deck. But I will be hunting the Chem Dog D to the 91, or sorry, the Deadhead Chem Dog, which is the Chem D back cross. And essentially me and Moana are both like giddy over breeding with that. Peanut Butter Baba. Okay, cool. Let's check out Muka's Peanut Butter Baba. Throw up those questions in the chat if you guys want. Where do I look, Muka? Oh, right there under the Baba Kush. On the Bubba page, I found it. And throw those ones up. Show Moana you guys like having her in the live. There's the Bubba. So check out the Peanut Butter Bubba. Is just looking scrumptious. Shout out to Muka crushing it. Look at that thing, man. To me, that looks like a Bubba dominant pheno. I can't smell it, but that looks dead on Bubba right there. That top little nug shot. Yeah, it's just purple, black. There's some red to it, huh?
Oh, like some deep red.
Yes, Muka, killing it. Look at that beauty.
So he was also asking what form cross you should pop.
Look at that Gorp grapes. Oh, man. Okay, wait. Go back over here. Okay, back to the chat. I got a little Bubba.
Little peanut butter to refresh.
Nice. What is the Krippy origin story again? So, pretty straightforward. Sorry, my homie tagged me. Any sneak peek into future projects? Yeah, we're doing a Holly Girl BX4 menu next, and then we're looking to follow that up with a Arkenstone menu, which is a GG4 back cross. So, the origin story of Krippy, it was originally bred on the island of Hawaii, 1986. It was selected by my dad. He did a 500 seed pheno hunt. The dude Neville wanted to buy seeds, but he didn't want to buy seeds of stuff that my dad couldn't show him the different phenos. So the seeds were hunted after they were made, and the rest is history. So I don't know if Neville sold it as Hawaiian Indica, Hawaiian what, but more than likely some of the Neville has Hayes, or not Neville, that was the strain, the Hayes strain he made. Most of anything that came from Neville that said Hawaiian something was probably produced by either my father himself directly or his crew. And then Krippy itself was Hawaiian duckfoot to the Packy to the Highland tie. So he took the, I believe it was a Packy, but a lot of the old timers have told me Packy, Afghani, they kind of all shared the same hash trails and how they move stuff. So it might have been shared genetics via Afghanistan, not 100% on that. But basically Packy, Highland tie, male, going into the Hawaiian duckfoot, that was what was described to me as making the Krippy. So, any other questions, let us know.
Krippy is our #1 requested strain since we started dropping seeds. Still is.
Burrito, you'll be happy to hear there will be a small vanilla shake menu before the end of the year. So there will be a vanilla shake menu. The strain is historic in Florida for sure, man. We got hit up by Sunshine Cannabis. He hit us up, wanted the Krippy S1s, and he's been, getting that Krippy out there again. I guess they had it and lost it. I don't know the whole story, but me and him talked on the phone. He said he wanted the real deal. Obviously, I didn't want to give him the cut. We made the Krippy S1s. Bada bing, bada boom. Like they said, make green gas great again. Krippy is that green gas that makes it great again. Like, don't kid yourself.
Yeah, it's a special plant.
I'd say the easiest is to get the top dono cut. The #1, the #3 are, #1 is the most OG dominant. The #3 is still OG dominant, but a lot easier to grow. And then now we have the gas head as well. Gas head is very special. Seems like it's gotten easier to grow each generation of back crossing the Krippy. So it's a win for the community because the terps have not changed. The plant has just gotten easier to cultivate, which is funny because all the record book or all the history books, all the knowledge on inbreeding and back crossing states, genetics will become harder to grow, less stable, and we've seen the exact opposite. So for me, like, I don't want to say haha, but it's also like they were talking shit and they didn't do their actual work because they look like fools if you do the work and try it out for yourself.
Which is exciting too for preservation, because if you're looking for a strain, like if you want the Krippy, then getting a BX5 or 6 of the Krippy, the Green Monster, is our most worked variety right now. That it will give you phenos super consistent to the mother.
Like this, we don't have the Chem 91 cut right now. I'm working on sourcing it from my homie, but as you guys all know, the cut is only as good as the source you get it from, right? And so I don't want some fake shit. I want a verified Chem 91 cut to where when we breed with it, you guys know you're getting the real deal. And I have grown the 91 in the past, but not recent enough to compare it directly to Krippy. But if we're doing OG chemical gas terps, Krippy is the very top. San Fernando Valley OG is like right below it, right? Then it's a toss-up between Ghost, Skywalker, and Chemdeep. So that's my honest opinion on it. GMO is gassy, don't get me wrong, but like when you're comparing those to... When you're comparing those, it's just, they're not in the same league, you know what I mean? Like, and don't get me wrong, like the Gary Payton's fire, you know, it's just all preference, right? But like, we're talking, what is the cream of the crop gas? Krippy all day. Triangle Kush is not in that discussion. I'm sorry. It is what it is. Triangle Kush is fire, but it's more of like a creamy Kush than just like a straight up gas Kush. You feel me? So it's like I said, preference. So how long has this we've been live here? I feel like we did a pretty good little segment here. I don't want to make it boring. We're at almost 40 minutes. If you guys have any more questions, let me know. But I think that was a perfect little talk strain Saturday sesh, you know, and we can always talk about more genetics. So like I said, I would say let's pretty much wrap it up and then throw those ones up if you guys want us to come back and do some scoops in a bit, and then W's if you had a good time. Does the dog patch male allow the females to shine through, or does it dominate? BK, I'm going to say that it's going to allow the females to shine through. The Chem Dog D to the 91 BX2, I don't think it's been worked enough to overtake the cross. Typically, it takes a BX3 or a BX4 to really solidify that the male is going to be present in all of the offspring. It depends how it's made, though, right? Like when we made the Sugar Tits BX2, it was so solid that everything passed through from the male. Yeah, we're going to leave it up for a good interview. I'm going to head out, though. We'll come back in a minute, possibly to do some scoops. Big W's today. Big W's. Let's go. We out.